following is from the Agency for Instructional Technology, AIT.
If you're looking at an object or a scene and drawing it, then you're using your eyes and perception as guides. If you're drawing without benefit of a model or an outdoor scene, then you're working from memory. In this program, Paul will show you how to see so you can draw both ways.
Which is the most important? Both are. You'll want to learn to draw from looking at a live model, as I have here. You'll also want to learn to draw when you have no model. And there's different skills to learn with different approaches. Now, my live model here, I'm first concerned with becoming visually familiar with shape, proportion, relationships, lights and darks. So I study my model. That's the first thing I do. I look at the overall shape, which includes the head and the body, the torso, and the upper legs here. So this is a head and shoulders drawing, really. But we see some of the hip block. So in looking at the shape, I'm thinking of the size of the head and using the head as a measurement. The size of the head, and I look at the model, and I see that it's about 2.5 heads to the waist. That's a measurement I determine by looking at the model. Then I look at the shape of the shoulders, the width of them, and the angles. Here we have an angle. It's really a curve, part of the blouse. It's really not part of the arm, it's part of the blouse, because this is a light blouse and we have quite a few pleats here. But we worry about them a little later. Our first concern is the shape and the proportion of arms to legs to feet, the proportion and relationship of parts to the body, and then line direction. And you can take your time. You need not draw fast when you're doing this. And the more you draw, of course, the better you get at it. No details, shape, angles, proportion, relationships. That's what we're thinking of first. So I used the head as a basis of a measurement and compared it with other parts of the body. And this will be detail that we can do later. Now if we look at the head, and I ask a model to turn her head toward me, I'm looking, I see a shape similar to this, so I'm sketching the head in detail, in a detailed drawing, to make this point. And the point is, in drawing the head, we also have a system of measurement. In this case, we use the eye. So if we say arbitrarily that the eye is about halfway in the head, then I look at Sarah, our model here, and I find that her eye is a little above halfway. Now, you do that with every model. Some models, figures you'll be drawing, their eyes are below halfway. And a few will fall right exactly on halfway. But in this case, it's above halfway, and that's the way I'll draw it. And now, instead of just drawing a figure, we're drawing a particular figure, a live model, that's this particular person, Sarah, here. So think about that. Don't think of all eyes as being halfway. Now you get the general shape. Look at them and draw what you see. Same way with the nose, measure it. How far is it down from the forehead to the chin? Then also with a line for the mouth, and I notice also that Sarah's eyes are rather large. Prominent features, prominent nose, and when you get down to detail, you can turn your pencil or your charcoal or brush, whatever you're doing, to get detail. But you'll notice that most of the time I'm holding it as you hold a brush. Seems like you can think better that way, but you don't do your detail that way. And I place Look back at the eyes, the eyelids, rather large eyelids, and I think about the pupils of the eyes, and I work around my picture. I don't complete one eye or one nose or one lip. And here again I say we had very prominent cheekbones and rounded chin, something like this and like this. So those are the things we think about when we're looking at a live model. In drawing the figure, we compare it with the head, and in drawing the head, we compare it with a division of the eyes, assuming that the eye may be halfway, and then look at your model and see. If it isn't, then don't put it there. And continue to work around until you get a likeness that you want. Detail last. And I'd turn, and now I'd go in and look at the features and start drawing them and shaping them and carving them almost as if you are sculpting. Now let me make a sketch from memory. This is called perceptual drawing. I have no live model, so I'm remembering a young lad. Okay, one of my grandsons. Now, you should know your subject when you're drawing. So if it's somebody you know, you're going to do a better job at it. And I'm drawing from memory now, and I'm trying to remember the shape of his head. And in doing this, I'm using the head for measurement, as I did when I was drawing from a live model. So a young person's head is larger in proportion to their body than an adult. So he is probably 4 heads at 4.5 years old. In other words, his head is about 1/4 of his body. And when you're adult, it's probably 1/7 to 1/7.5 to 8. Okay, now I'm remembering that his eyes of a child are usually below center, and I'll suggest them here. Small nose, small mouth, eyebrows, lots of hair, small ears, and the arms and the legs, if you're drawing them around, no angles to them. We remember that. And I get an outline shape first. I come back and worry about details second. I do remember this face comes down and it curves down here to the chin. Comes down here and the cheeks curve down to a small chin. Not too much neck, as I remember. Now drawing this way, you will not get as good a likeness as you have a model before you. But sometimes it's necessary, or sometimes it's important, or sometimes you may want to draw something where a model is not practical. Now this is a rough sketch, but it's pretty much in the proportion of little Wesley. Now later I'll go along and add eyebrows, eyes, details such as dimples, an insignia here, wrinkles in the pants, drapery, make any little correction I want. And you can get a fairly good likeness drawing from memory, if you keep thinking about that and then sharpen your mind to know what to look for. As I remember, the hair is usually scraggly like this. And then I would take a pencil and I would turn it this way to get my detail. Put in the detail, little lips. And that's what you call conceptual drawing. I'm going to sketch this watering container. And I'm going to sketch it in a both perceptual way and a conceptual way. I'll be drawing both from memory and from model. But the difference is, I can't see the top of this container. It's side view to me, but that doesn't mean I can't draw it in a top three-quarter view, which I'm doing now. Very lightly, I set out the basic shape. I'm adding the detail, and later I'll come in to darken it and round the corners. So you see, there are times that you use both. You look at the model, but it doesn't give you the complete view you want, but that does not prevent you from drawing it the way you want if you study the model. And you see the general shape. An adjusted rectangular solid with sloping sides. And from that side view, I can roughly and quickly sketch this in any view I want to. Looking at the spout up here. And that's an example of using both at the same time. Both the conceptual and perceptual way of drawing. From memory, you remember things, and you use that memory. Even though the object does not present itself in that way, you can construct it in that way.
To sharpen your visual skills, make a series of timed sketches. Using a clock or stopwatch, give yourself 10 minutes to sketch from life a scene, object, or person. Stop when the time is up, and don't worry about making a completed drawing. Just get the essence of the picture. Draw the same thing, but in 5 minutes' time. Then make a 2-minute drawing. Limiting the amount of time you have to observe helps you draw the general shapes and to not be overly concerned about detail.
In drawing from life or a model, you must remember to draw what you see. And with a lot of practice, you'll develop what we call visual acuity. You'll get better at it, and you'll be able to interpret it on paper. Now, if you're drawing from memory in a conceptual way, then you'll sharpen your memory along with your eye. You will learn the things to look for, the things to remember. And if you don't have them, then you will get research, you'll get pictures or photographs. There are times when you want to draw something where it's impossible to have a model, such as a situation like this. You can draw from a reconstruction or pictures, but you'll never have a live model.
Because seeing comes so naturally, we do it without thinking most of the time. But learning to draw is learning to see. Visual skills can be developed with practice and patience. Drawing with Paul Ringler is produced by the Agency for Instructional Technology in association with the Oklahoma Educational Television Authority.